Hey YouTubers, welcome back to Jack of All Trades. I got a video here for you today. We're going to be installing a generator interlock on this power panel right here in this garage. I'm going to go through the complete steps from start to finish to set this house up to run off of a generator. I'm going to answer questions and give you information on how to apply for a permit if you wish to do so, how to install this by code, as well as how to run all the wiring and everything from start to finish. So we're going to be installing the interlock kit here. We're going to run it up to the attic. It's going to come across and it's going to drop down right here by the door, somewhere by the door. And that's where our interlock's going to be, because the actual generator is going to be right outside this door here whenever we have an emergency. So stay tuned, I got a good video for you. All right, we're going to go over our supplies that we're going to use here for this installation. Now this is going to be for a 50 amp generator, and the actual connector is going to be 50 amp. Everything's going to be rated for at least 50 amps. And I'm going to have some things that I'm going to demonstrate here as a part of this that are going to be for 30 amps, but those are just for demonstration purposes only. So hang in there. Okay, so the wire that I'm going to use is THHN, which is also known as primary wire. Since I'm doing a 50 amp generator, I went ahead and selected 6-gauge wire. It's pretty thick. I got about 26 feet of it here. It's heavy stuff. And since I chose THHN, it has to be secured. It has to be in a raceway, okay? So I picked up this liquid tight non-metallic conduit, flexible conduit. Okay, this thing here, this whole 25 foot section here, you can get this at Home Depot or Lowe's. I got 3/4 inch because of the size of my wire. I'm going to use 4 wires, 2 hots, a ground and a neutral. And so the fill capacity of a 3/4 inch diameter raceway like this is 4 wires. 4 total wires in 3/4 inch. Now, if you're doing a 30 amp generator setup, then I believe you can get away with 10 gauge or 8 gauge. I believe it's 10 gauge, which is much smaller wire, and you can fit a lot of those in 3/4 inch. I actually believe you can get away with using 1/2 inch, so you can size down to a 1/2 inch diameter raceway for that. Now, this isn't the only thing you can use. There's a lot of different types of raceways that you can use. You can use flexible conduit, metal, that's metallic. You can use metal conduit. You could use the non-flexible conduit. Most people just refer to it as conduit. It's the gray stuff. It's plastic. You're going to have to look into that depending on where you put it. If it's in a high traffic area and it's prone to being damaged, you're going to have to get the stronger type. I think it's something like type 40 or type 60. So if you put it in somewhere that's not prone to damage, then you can get away with the cheaper stuff that is a little bit lighter. Make sure you look into that if you're going to use either one of those. With the stuff that's plastic like this, there's no metal in this at all. You're going to have to supply a ground. If you have a ground, if you use a metal or a metallic conduit and metal boxes and everything is metal, the boxes, the conduit, raceway, all the way to the actual power box, then you could get away with not running a ground. You can actually ground it to the metal box, and everything has to be grounded along the way. So make sure you look into that too. That's not what we're doing here today, so I don't need to go into a ton of detail. But my selection is this flexible conduit, liquid tight, because it can be used in a lot of different ways. You can bury this stuff. You can run it through an attic. You can run it on the exterior of a wall. You can run it through a wall. You can run it in a wall for a certain period, for a certain amount of feet before it has to be secured. We're going to get to the securing here in a second. So it is quite versatile. I'm using it simply because it's going to be easier for me to use than for me to run a bunch of non-flexible conduit through my attic and up through the walls. I have very limited crawl space when I get into the attic, and it's going to be over 120 degrees in there. And of course, I'm not doing this in the winter like I should. So I chose this. What I'm also probably going to do is I'm probably going to run the wire through it before I'll run the actual cable through this sheathing and run it all at once. But if you don't have that luxury, if you're going to go ahead and hang the raceway first, then I'll give you some tips here in a minute on ways to pull that cable through there to help. Okay, so I'm running this through some masonry blocks, so I need to be able to secure the boxes and the actual attachments. So we have these straps right here that are going to be used for the raceway, and I got a couple bags of them. You have to secure the actual box. So the raceway is kind of come down to the connector box. You got to secure that within a foot of it connecting to the box. So you connect the raceway to the box, and then within a foot on the wall or wherever you're securing it, you have to put a clamp. And then after that, it's every 3 to 4 feet roughly. It was 3 feet for me when I was in New Hampshire when I did this for the very first time. It could be anywhere from 3 to 4 feet, but I think 3 feet is pretty safe. So you just need to secure it every 3 feet until you get to the power panel, and then you have to secure it again within 12 inches of the power panel. So the things that I am going to use is my circuit box there is pretty full with breakers. So I actually need one of these twin breakers here so I can combine 2 slots into one and free up some space. I have my main breaker. This is cutler hammer, and this is going to be the on and off for the generator connect, okay? Cutler hammer was bought out by Eaton about a year or 2 ago, so the actual cutler hammer ones are getting really hard to find. Eaton makes their own version of the cutler hammer, so if you have those, you'll notice they're kind of tan. I needed at least a 50 amp, but I couldn't go over 60 amps because of my 6-gauge wire. Any more than that would be dangerous. So just so you know, the breaker is designed to protect the wire, okay? So you have to make sure that the breaker is the right size for the wire. Now you can have bigger wire on a smaller breaker, and that's fine. You can't have smaller wire on a bigger breaker and that work out, because what's going to happen is if there's an overload, this is going to trip at 60 volts, 60 amps, and this cable is going to burn up. If it's like 8-gauge or 10-gauge cable, it's going to burn up sooner than that. So that's why that's there in place. So this is going to be my main one in my panel that my interlock's going to go onto. Speaking of interlock, we got the interlock right here. And I got this from Interlock. I believe I actually bought it on Amazon. So let's just see here. Now when you do these, there we go, Interlock.com. I paid with this with my own money. Looks to be a good set. We'll find that out later. You will have to do some drilling, so keep that in mind. You will have to drill through your actual panel cover on your panel. You'll want to do that with it off of the power box, of course. Okay, so I got my connectors here. These are going to go. You'll need 2 of these. One to go into the power inlet box for the generator where you plug it in, and then one to go into the circuit panel where your breakers are. So I need 2 of those. Let's go ahead and look at these real quick. All right, so just for demonstration purposes, I have 3 different ones. This one right here was sent to me. It was sent to me by Gforit online. They sell these on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description below. They sent this to me for free for my own honest review. I'm actually going to do a separate video on this and post it here, a link above. But this was the 30 amp one. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this one. I'll give you a sneak peek, but it's kind of big and it's all plastic, so that's different. These other ones are metal. I will, if you're interested in this one, just look at the description above. I'm going to give an honest review on it, and then I'm going to probably test it out over several months out in the rain to see how it holds up. So that one's aside. Here's the one I bought off Amazon. I paid my own money for this one. I'm going to give it a try. I used this one last year, the 50 amp version. I bought the 30 amp version here to show you a couple things I had concerns with. The 30 and the 50 amp are in the same size box, okay? And I want to show you this real quick. This is Reliance. It's an American-made, well, American sourced. Who knows where the parts came from? But it's an American-made item, and you can get these at Home Depot, Lowe's, Northern Tool. They're good, all right? They're nice and solid. These look like 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch knockouts here on the sides. They're metal. The concern I had and the issues I had with running these with the 50 amp, I don't think you're gonna have problems if you do 30 amp, okay? You can probably get away with doing 30 amp on these just fine. The problem I had was bending 6-gauge wire or 8-gauge wire in here to do a rear entry. And potentially the same issues with all of them, because the issue is the wires cannot be bent safely enough in this small little area to fit this. All right, you have the entries for the rear there, okay, for the wires to go in, and then this gets really close. There's almost no clearance in there for it to fit. So the wires have to be bent at almost a 90 degree, and it's not easy to do with the larger gauge. And an issue I had was I had to crank this down so hard that I ended up snapping this off, and I had to go out and get another one that was longer to make it work. So if you try to do this with 50 amp and you snap this off, just go to Lowe's and get a longer screw, and it'll help out. So anyway, I got this as a demonstration. I'm of course going to return it. This is the new one I'm trying out this year. I had concerns about it. The reviews were not great, but one thing I did like about it was how much thicker it was, okay? So I have a little bit more room to work with there as far as bending the cables, and that's the main thing. Now, if you've done any research on these, I'm sure you've seen them online. They have the little gimmicky light that lights up on the outside. What I like about the Reliance one is it has a spring lid. This one doesn't. It'll stay open, and then you have to actually snap it closed. The metal on the inside, if you would have looked at the Reliance one here, it actually looks like it's a brass. Not even take a guess here. This is probably just steel. So we'll see. Again, I got this because it was wider. The knockouts here on the reviews on Amazon, people are saying these aren't real knockouts. They're just stamped. So I'm gonna find that out. We'll get through that hurdle whenever we get there. But okay, so other than the inlet box and the raceway, you just have to have minimum tools. You need wire strippers, probably a screwdriver if you need to do a knockout on any of the boxes. And so that's the basic parts right there. If I forget anything, I'll throw it in. But let's go ahead and get into the installation. All right, so something I almost forgot here. I just want to make sure this is clear. When you pick out these interlock switches, okay, these are approved. These are UL approved, NEC approved. You can use this for your generator. This is important to make sure that you're not backfeeding power into the lines that some linemen may be working on in the event of emergency. Just so you know, these are specific to your power panel. So you need to open up your power panel and you need to look inside and see what brand, what make it is. Okay, this is a cutler hammer, so the model number, you know, EAT CH2006. You're gonna need to measure. You're gonna need to look and see what your configuration is. This one here shows a little picture. You know, your on and off switch. Does it throw left to right or up to down? Is it situated at the top of the box? Is it situated at the bottom? You'll need to measure the gap that is between the circuit, the actual main breaker, and then your smaller feed breakers. You're gonna need to measure that gap. And then if you go on this website, it'll tell you which one to get. You can of course do that on Amazon too, and you can find the specifics there, I believe. But don't be surprised if you pay 50 bucks for something like this. I believe this one was about 60. So these are expensive, but this is one of the cheapest ways to legally do it. All right, so there you have it. All right, so the next step you would take is to apply for your permit. If you decide to do this legally and safely, You can, of course, do this without applying for a permit. In most cases, you would need to actually legally obtain a permit to do this work. Some areas don't allow you to do your own electrical work unless you're licensed. Some do. You can go to your local city hall, and the building department or building code department will be where you obtain this permit. It can range anywhere from $25 to $100 to apply for this permit. And what you're going to need to expect is you're going to have to detail where at on your property the work is being done, how long you expect it to take, as well as you're going to need to actually, what they seem to be more concerned with is if you're doing the work on your house or somebody else's house or a rental property or commercial property. Those seem to be the major things. You can usually do a lot of work on your own property as long as it's the only dwelling that you live in, or actually you're the only person living in that dwelling. If you're doing work on the property and it's a rental or you have someone else living there, then there's a lot of other issues that come into play. So once you apply for the permit, you have pretty much unlimited time to work on it. You get things set up, and then you need to contact them and let them know that you're done so that they can come out and inspect it. Now, what you can expect generally is there's a first inspection where you get everything up in place but not connected. So your junction boxes are going to be open, your panel's going to be open, none of your wires are going to be connected, but all of your raceways are going to be in place. The cable connectors and tie downs are all going to be hooked up. The junction box for your actual generator is going to be hooked up. The wires are going to all be exposed. All the boxes are going to be open. And this is so an inspector can come and look and check on your work. If you get the green light from him or her at that point, then what typically happens is that you can go and you can connect everything, and then they'll inspect your work after that. And then, they'll allow you to kick it on or what have you. I got lucky the last time I did mine, and the inspector came the very first time, saw that it looked really good, told me that I could go ahead and finish the job, and he signed everything off right then and there, and he didn't need a second inspection. That's going to vary. Of course, you could fail an inspection, and there are fees associated with failing an inspection, and of course there are fees involved if you get caught doing work without a permit. Generally, they're not that bad. It's like 2 or 3 times the cost of a permit. And of course, I guess you do run the risk of if there's ever a fire and your home is destroyed or a neighbor's property is destroyed from your work, if it's shoddy and you didn't pull a permit, then of course, I guess there could be some insurance issues with that. Okay, so our next step now is going to be that we're going to pull this panel off, the panel cover, and we're actually going to install the interlock switch on that. Now, I have to say, if you do not feel comfortable working on electrical equipment at this point, this is going to be where you probably need to have somebody else do it. I feel very comfortable with this. I have a background in electronics, and I did this type of work when I was in the military. So I feel comfortable with doing this. I've done this at another house that I've owned, and the inspection went really well. So I feel comfortable doing this. Make sure you take all safety precautions into consideration before you start working on electricity, because it can kill you. Now keep in mind, if you don't feel comfortable doing this, don't do it. All right, let's go ahead and get that panel cover off. I have 6 screws all the way around. You take all 6 of them off. I typically leave one in the top corner, and then I make sure I have a second hand on it. I can open it up and steady it, and then I pull that last one out and pop it off, and then I'm going to bring it over here to the bench. Like I said earlier, there is electricity behind this panel that can kill you, so you'll need to be careful with this part, and working behind these panels is very dangerous in general. So we're going to pull this off, and we're going to go take it to the bench, and we're going to start drilling our holes and measuring for the interlock. All right, so I got the interlock kit opened here. I'm actually kind of surprised at all it's included. I thought the kit was a little pricier than the last one I bought, but I couldn't remember exactly why. And this one actually includes a lot of stuff. It comes with the drill bit and some thread locker already for you, and then that's not common actually. And some instructions that actually look pretty good. They look like they're thought out. It's all in plain English, which is always great. A couple zip ties for securing what looks like the breakers down here. And then normally you just get the actual interlock piece and some warning stickers. And that's what were in the last couple kits that I've used. So this actually looks like a pretty robust kit for the cutler hammer. I'm going to go ahead and I'll see if I can link this in the description in case anybody else has interest. I get nothing from this company, so I'm just saying it looks like it's a good one, and we'll find out later if it all works out, and then I can give a recommendation or not. But let me go ahead and get this marked up so that we can do the drilling. Okay, so the instructions have you take this this kit up to the panel, and you're going to line up. You're going to take it apart, the interlock piece, and you're going to take it apart, and you're going to line up the breakers according to the instruction, and you're going to mark your holes where you're going to drill. I want to say with this part, these kits are made for a certain brand, but the configurations could be for multiple configurations. For example, this kit is for a configuration where the on and off switch is at the top of the panel. Mine's at the bottom. Really, it doesn't matter. What you really need to do is use common sense with it. Before you start drilling, mark your holes and then put it back together. You know, put it like it would be as if it was all together, and make sure the flow makes sense. So, for example, my breaker is going to be on this side for the generator, and my main power is right here, okay? So they can't both be on at the same time. So an inward throw for my generator breaker means it's on, okay? So if that is on, then this needs to interfere with the main power from being on at the same time. Likewise, if the generator throw is off, this should sweep out of the way so that you can kick the power on for the main house, the line feed. So what you want to do is you want to make sure it makes sense before you start making things permanent, like drilling holes. Okay, so that's what I did here. I had this is already hung up. I marked these. I went through the actual throw a couple times to make sure it made sense, and it did. So we marked it and we took it off, and now we have it here on the bench. I'm going to do a couple starter holes so it's easier to drill with tapping it with just something sharp, and then the included drill bit I already have going here, and so we'll start drilling and get that lined out now. All right, the holes are drilled. It's really it's that easy. The drill bit that was included was a really nice one, so that was helpful. Okay, so then you just line everything back up. I got a piece of wood under here to help elevate it. All right, so disregard the beeping in the background. That's my emergency power supply. So this is just for those who have never done this before, just moving breakers around and installing them in the panel. I've unconnected this one, but essentially what you want to do is you turn it off and then use the leverage from turning it off to pull it out. Okay, it just sweeps backwards, and then you move it to the next spot. There's a little hook on the back, okay? And then that hooks into that spot there, the little bar. You hook it into the back first, and then you just rock it forward. Let me show you that better. You hook it into the back, and you rock it forward, and it snaps into place, all right? And I just have to do that till I get all the way to the bottom, and then I put the generator one at the very bottom. All right, so just like that, everything has been moved. I still have the power off here so I can show you what I'm talking about. So the generator needs to be able to, generator breaker needs to be able to rock back and forth freely as it can now. Okay, our power is off, so I need to be able to move this out of the way and kick the power on for it to work. Now, if you move this out of the way and you can't kick this on, make sure you do sometimes have some play in your screws, so you could loosen all your screws and lift it up or push it down a little bit and then tighten them back up to get a little bit of play out of it. That might help. So we'll see here if this worked out all right. We'll push this out of the way and we'll kick the power on. Okay, so power's on, generator's off. they impede each other from being on at the same time, and that's the whole purpose of this. So this is good right now. I have a few more things I have to do as far as slapping on the warning labels and all that stuff. That's not something you need to see, but you will get a warning label. It'll be something you probably put on the outside of your panel, and then maybe also by your generator interlock box. We'll check that out, but we still have more of this install to do. I'm trying to do as much as I can today because it is raining outside, so it's only 85 in the garage instead of 100 like it normally is. All right, so stay tuned. We're gonna start running the actual flexible conduit now and get that all ready and set up. All right, so after you take care of everything with your power panel, it's time to start running your conduit or your raceway, whatever you're using. Get it into place, get it mounted up, and get your boxes mounted up. And then at that point, you're gonna need to pull your cable. Now, one trick that I've learned after doing this a few different times is that you don't necessarily have to pull the cable while it's in place. You could try to pull it while it's still in a bundle, or while it's still in a bundle, and that might make it easier for you to transport the cable and the conduit at the same time if you're using flexible conduit. If not, I got a trick that you can use no matter what to help you fish your line through the conduit and get your rope through there a little easier. So check this out. All right, so all you're gonna need is a fishing pole, a Walmart bag, your conduit, preferably still wrapped up so it's solid. You're gonna need to make sure that you open the ends, and then you need a shop vac or a vacuum that's at least good enough to do what we need to do here, okay? So this is gonna be your kite. This is gonna be your kite string. Okay, so you need to get a little bit of this. I usually take the loop out. So cut a loop out. All right, so now I got a plastic circle pretty much. Okay, and you wanna hook a fish line into it or tie it, whatever you need to do, okay? And then hook your vacuum up to one side, and then put your kite in the other one, and it'll suck it completely through. You can do this once you have all your conduit actually hung on the wall or wherever you're putting it, but everything has to be sealed up so it'll pull it through the system. So let's see how it works, how well it works like this. There we have it. So just listen to the slight change in your vacuum cleaner. You'll know it's there, or you can just keep checking. So what you would do at this point is take your kite off, and then you bring in some heavier line. This is 3/8 nylon. So this is going to be kind of a tight squeeze. I wish I had something smaller, but this is what I have right now. So I just hook the fishing line into this. All right, so I'll pull this back through. I know this is a lot of back and forth, but I'll pull this back through, and then when this comes through, I'll bundle up all my wire and I'll pull it the rest of the way. That'll be the hardest part. What you could do is, if that's going to be too hard to do, you could at least get your rope in your conduit, then hang everything, mount it, and then with everything mounted on the wall where to be a little more solid, you can pull the cable through the conduit at that point. All right, I'm not going to show you this. I'll show you the end product though. All right, so that worked out, kind of. I'm not going to sit here and lie and act like that was easy. 25 foot of conduit is hard to pull fishing line back through when it's all wound up. So I had to unravel mine. Once I got it straight, I put it on my driveway. I put one end with a weight on it and then unraveled it and then straightened it out, and the line came right through pretty easily. So once you get the line through, you want to get your cable, get it all pulled out, tape up the end of it real good, and then take your line and try to make it as straight and narrow as possible, but also secure, because this wide section here is what's going to get hung up if it gets hung up on anything. So make it nice and sleek. Use several rounds of electrical tape. Don't be shy with it, because if you have to redo this, it's not going to be worth the 25 cents to get another roll. So put as much as you can on there. Make it nice and smooth. This little junction here needs to be smooth so that it'll slide through. I know there's some lubricant that you can get to make this pulling a little easier as well. If you have the regular conduit that you're using like this, what you want to do is you want to shave the inner and the outer corners off so they don't cause any hookups, so or they don't cut into the wire as you're pulling. So it's just good habit when you put this down is to shave this inner rim out with a blade, or you can easily do it, a pair of scissors. Just shave it out like this. Keeps it from being sharp. Okay, that's all you gotta do. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna pull this cable through everything on the ground. I'm gonna attempt to do it while I'm on the ground. Once I get the cable and the conduit together, then I'm gonna go up in the attic and I'm gonna drop it down the 2 holes, and we'll be ready to mount it up at that point. All right, so we finally made it to the inlet box portion here. We're almost done with everything. I took this one apart because I wanted to check a few things out. So if you don't know, this inlet box, this is where you actually plug in your generator power extension cord that comes from your generator. This is wired to the circuit breaker with the conduit, and that's where your interlock is that we just installed earlier. So this is the last piece in the puzzle. Just to confirm some of the stuff that you see on Amazon, these knockouts are stampings. They're not actual real. So they're a good size indicator of what you need, but you can't take a screwdriver to these and knock them out like you could anything that you'd normally see today. So this is going to be a little bit harder. The instruction kit that came with it lists getting a knockout punch set, which I can tell you no one's going to own this unless you're an electrician, and maybe not even then. Essentially what this does is allows you to tighten it until it cuts into the hole and makes a nice little opening for you. So what we are going to try today though is we're going to try to use a drill bit, because most people have drill bits. And then we also are going to try a hole saw once we get a hole in there and see where that gets us. So let's go ahead and mark us a spot. All right, so I'm actually going to mount mine upside down. The door's just going to open down instead of up. That's just because I don't want to mess with coming in from the side or the back. And there's not a hole in the top, which I guess you probably could put a hole in the top if you wanted to, but that looks like it's even more work. So I'm going to do it from the bottom. Got a little center punch here. I'm going to mark a spot for us. All right, we'll drill it out. right, let me clean that up. All right, so if the whole saw doesn't work, my options are to step it up with drill bits, but my fittings are 3/4 of an inch. So I don't have drill bits that go that big. I have a Dremel, which I can sand it out, but again, I'm trying to use some common tools, and I don't know if a Dremel is quite a common tool. So those are my options for now. Let's go ahead and see if this works. This is a wood cutting tool, so it's probably not, but let's go ahead and give it a whirl. Alright, I'm going to say that's a no. So let's see what we have next. Alright, and just a quick demonstration of how the connectors go on for the liquid tight conduit. It's real simple. You have a collar that goes over it first, and then you put everything else on. There's just one other piece left. You slide it up through the wires, and then it goes on the inside. Twist it up there as high as you can, and then this collar just tightens down by hand. That's it. That's all there is to it. So we're just going to connect this box here now. I already have the holes drilled, and we'll have these wires coming out, and then I'll show you the rest of everything you need to know before you get inspected, and then we'll do the wrap up. All right, I got everything installed here. Got the breaker box, got everything going up in the attic, coming across, coming down, mounted securely. Got the box installed. I got the box open, showing the wire connections. Got the breaker box open, showing its wire connections. What I'll do is I'll throw the panel cover on there for tonight with a screw or two, but I have the generator connecting wires in there. I have wire nuts on the end for just a little bit of security. And so when the inspection comes, when that happens, the inspector will want to see these boxes open so he can look at the wires, he or she, and check them. And then what's going to happen is if they give you the okay and they say that you can go ahead and continue, they're okay with everything, then you button everything up. You close the boxes, you connect the wires, close everything up just like it's new, and they may come and re-inspect, or they may just say, button it up, we're done, sign all your paperwork, and it's over. So that's it. We've installed the inlet box for the generator so we can connect it to the house, and we ran the conduit and connected it to the power panel and installed a generator interlock for safety. So I've given you all the details that you need to know to properly do this, or to the best of my ability, so that you can pass a code inspection if you need to, and you can install these yourself. All right? Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was very informative. If you like stuff like this, hit the like and subscribe button. I plan to test out this generator with a 5-ton and a 3-ton central AC unit to see if it can run it in the event of emergency. So that's coming up next. Stay tuned. Take care. Goodbye.